What extreme weirdness! What do you suppose that was all about? You know, Nigel went with Uncle Basil to the Wax Museum. Maybe they're playing a joke on us. Let's go check it out. Uncle Basil comes here sometimes when he's stuck on a story. He looks at the costumes and the wax people, and it helps him to write about people in his books. Sometimes he comes and stares at them all day. Uncle Basil! Hey, Nigel! We just got a pretty bizarre phone call. The voice just said a name, Jules Verne, then they hung up.
Jules Verne? He's a French writer, you know. My friend, Ivy Brissett, calls him the father of science fiction. She's always wittering on about him.
I've heard the phrase a jillion times, but what exactly does science fiction mean, Uncle Basil?
It's writing where you imagine what happens if a certain scientific discovery is made. How would our lives change if somebody discovered how to travel in time, or travel at the speed of light in space? Those are popular science fiction themes. I don't read very much science fiction myself. It's too much in your head, not enough in your heart. I prefer fantasy. It's like science fiction, but one needn't worry about science.
You said your friend knows a lot about Jules Verne. Where can we find her?
She's coming to our house. Later today, in fact. Come round to the kitchen later and I'll introduce you. I dare say she can answer any question you might have about Jules Verne.
The only Jules I know is Astrid's friend Jules Harper. Usually you'd find him at Chumley's toy store, but he's not working today. I don't know where he is. Maybe Astrid does. Hey, Astrid!
Hello, Nigel. Hello, Jake. Come to enjoy the lovely waxworks, have we?
Yes, indeed. Listen, Astrid, we were wondering if you knew where Jules was today.
I haven't a clue, ducks. Our band's got no work, and Jules is all moody about it. Yesterday he went to Dover and walked along the cliffs all day. Got to get back to work. We're preparing a wax of Arnold Schwarzenegger and I'm doing his arms. They're huge. Ta-ra!
You know, Jules Verne reminds me of Dad's friend Ivy Brissett. She talks about Jules Verne all the time. I don't know about Miss Brissett. She's nice and everything, but she seems awfully anxious to make a lot of money. She rattles on and on about how she'll spend her first £1,000,000. I think she spends more time thinking about that than she does writing her books.
Hey, Jennifer, earlier we got this weird phone call from a mystery person. Somebody said Jules Verne. We don't really have any leads about it. Maybe we should just forget it.
No way, Jake. While you were gone, the mystery person called again. He or she said Jules Verne again and then hung up. Something is going on, I just know it. Look, I called the library and got some information about Jules Verne. He was a writer who lived in France from the year 1828 to 1905. He wrote all sorts of stories about adventures, journeys. His most famous books are 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, From the Earth to the Moon, and Around the World in 80 Days. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is about 3 men who are taken aboard a mysterious electric submarine. From the Earth to the Moon is about 3 men who are shot to the moon in a big cannon. Around the World in 80 Days is perhaps Verne's most famous story. In it, a Londoner named Phileas Fogg and his servant Passepartout attempt to travel all the way around the world in 80 days. In the 1860s, that was just barely possible.
Wow, he wrote those over 100 years ago. He wrote about submarines and space travel before they were really invented. He used his imagination to try to predict the future.
Right, Jake. Now look what else I found. There's a special exhibit on submarines going on at the Imperial War Museum.
And you know what I remember? There's an ad in our guidebook for a travel agency. And guess what the name is? Around the World in 80 Ways. They might be long shots, but hey, let's check them out. Say, who's that over there pretending to squeeze the melons? It's Inspector Gage. I bet he's on a case. Let's say hi.
Well, children, good to see you. I was just out picking up a few things for supper. I think the cabbages look fresh, don't you?
No way, Inspector. Those cabbages are pretty wilted. You aren't really shopping for groceries, are you? Aren't you on a case?
You caught me, Jake. Yes, we're trying to crack a gang of international art smugglers, and we're sure the Around the World in 80 Ways travel agency is involved. That's the shop over across the street. Someone who travels to foreign places is arranging to have precious art stolen. All our evidence proves that he or she is connected with the agency, but we're not sure how. You two can help me keep a lookout for any suspicious activity.
Hey, some people are leaving the agency. I'll try to grab a quick photo.
Fiddlesticks! I didn't get a very good look at them at all.
Hold on, Inspector. I think I got a good photo with Travis. Give me a moment and I'll call it up. There! That's one of the two ladies that left the agency. Is it anyone you recognize? She looks kind of familiar to me.
No, but if you give me a printout, I'll take it back to Scotland Yard and see if we can identify her. And maybe take it round to Snootbiz too. They're loads of help when it comes to art. But first, I must finish buying these cabbages.
Don't tell Inspector Gage just yet, but did you recognize the other lady? I did. It's Lady Edna Saltcoats. Let's hop a train out tomorrow for Manor and see what's up. Here's the submarine exhibit. And look, there's Astrid's friend Jules. What's he doing here, I wonder? Hey, Jules, what are you doing here? I thought only tourists went to museums.
What, are you joking? One of the fantastic things about living in London is the variety of fascinating things to do. I'm quite fond of popping down to a gallery or a museum when I've got some time off.
Hey, Jules, how come you've got a coat and tie with you? I didn't think you had to wear them at the toy store.
I don't. I've got a second job working for a travel photographer named Swift in Covent Garden. I'm all worked up about it, actually. I hate to work so much, but I need the lolly.
You must be nervous. It looks like you have the wrong coat. The name tag on it says Julian.
Oh, that. It says Julian because my boss's nickname is Jules. He gave me the job on the condition that I use the long version of my name, Julian, when I'm working there. So if anyone rings for Jules, I know to give the phone to Mr. Swift.
I wonder why anyone named Owen would have the nickname Jules.
Dunno. Nicknames are funny things. Wish me luck with my new job. I'm off.
Hey, here it mentions 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, written by Jules Verne. In the story, a mysterious man named Captain Nemo pilots a fantastic submarine called the Nautilus. Let's ask Mr. Parker if he knows anything about recent art thefts around the world.
Yes, there seem to be some particularly nasty thieves at work just now. Barbarians, really. I was in Benta, Malaysia, about a month ago, and saw a wonderful shrine to Buddha. Now I find out the shrine's been ruined. Someone cut off the Buddha's head with a chainsaw and stole it. Terrible. Before that, I was travelling in Eastern Europe. In Orgev, I saw a marvellous mosaic in an old church. In less than a month, someone ripped it up and carted it away. A tragedy. On that same trip, we all admired some carved wooden doors in a castle in Turkey. Shortly after we were there, some thieves used crowbars to pull the doors down and steal them. It's disgraceful.
Yikes! Did anyone catch the thieves?
In most cases, they caught the people who grabbed the art, yes. But it turns out that the real villain, the organizer of the thefts, is still at large. Someone travelled from country to country arranging the thefts of those fabulous pieces. That's the art thief that the police should really be after.
Whoever he or she is, That person is undoubtedly making tons of money, but destroying beautiful churches and temples to do it. Here's the booth for the only travel photographer in Covent Garden, Owen Swift.
Hello, children. Are you interested in buying some photographic prints? They were all taken overseas in exotic temples and shrines.
We were wondering if you knew anything about Jules, as in Jules Verne.
Jules? Jules. The name doesn't mean anything to me. Sorry. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time to close up shop. Goodbye.
Do you think Lady Edna is involved in some sort of art smuggling ring? She does seem to have some nice art at Marlford Manor. Let's pay her a surprise visit and see what we can find out. There's Lady Edna, but no sign of the old lady that was with her at the travel agency. Look, this brochure is from the Around the World in 80 Ways travel agency. There's some small print at the bottom. It says, writing by Ivy Brissett, photography by Owen Swift, Covent Garden. Maybe it's time for us to go to Uncle Basil's house and meet this Ivy Brissett.
Why, children, what a pleasant surprise. I'm so glad to see you. What brings you out all the way to Marlford Manor?
Why, we're interested in art, Lady Edna. Really fine art from foreign countries. We were wondering if you had any.
No, not really, dear. Most of the art here at Marlford Manor was done here in England, and it's been in our family for generations. I do have this brochure, however, for an art tour. One goes to other lands to enjoy the art at shrines and temples and such. The brochure's on the table if you want to look at it. If it's exciting new art you want, have you tried my library?
I wonder what Lady Edna's gotten here. It's the old woman we saw at the travel agency.
Yes, children? What is it?
If you please, ma'am, we saw you coming out of the travel agency on Quaint Street. We were wondering what you were doing there. Are you an art collector?
Well, I can see that the jig is up. It's time to show you everything.
Look, she's pulling off a wig and a mask. Wow, it's Aunt Miranda.
Well, I see you got my phone message. Sorry it had to be so mysterious, but I wasn't completely sure of my facts yet. I'm writing a story about these art thefts, and I think I'm really onto something. I knew that if I dropped you a hint, you would investigate on your own. That way, if your sleuthing led you to the same conclusions I came up with, you'd confirm my suspicions. You see, the travel agency I visited today takes art collectors on tours around the world. But wherever they go touring, priceless pieces of art get stolen. All my research leads me to believe that someone connected with the travel agency is behind these thefts. I've interviewed dozens of their former clients using disguises like the one you saw earlier, and I've only come up with one good link to the real art thief. The key is someone they call Jules. That's the code name. It could be a man or a woman. Jules is the one who arranges the thefts. If we could catch him or her, we could smash the whole ring.
Hey, Lady Edna has some books by Jules Verne here in her library. Here's an interesting one, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Jules Verne seems to have gone just about everywhere, in his imagination anyway. This must be Uncle Basil's friend, Ivy Brissett. She's the one who's totally hooked on Jules Verne.
Oh yes, Jules Verne is a hero of mine. He had such bold visions of the future. When he read about a new invention, he could see how people would use it and how it would change their lives. When the airship Norge crossed the Arctic, when Norbert Castore found lost lakes and signs of early man in caverns under the Pyrenees Mountains, when the American submarine Nautilus voyaged to the North Pole, all these explorations had already occurred in Verne's novels. If he were alive today, he'd be writing about cold fusion and genetic engineering and virtual reality, and he'd be really rich and successful and own a yacht like he did when he was alive.
Ms. Brissett, we saw that you do writing for a travel agency.
You mean for Around the World in 80 Ways? Yes, I do. I even help them name their company. It's a way for me to earn money while I'm working on my books. I'm hoping that someday they will take me along on one of their tours to some place exotic like Brunei, but so far it hasn't happened.
We have all the facts we need to nail this art thief. Pick out the clues that'll convince Scotland Yard who Jules is. Now, point out the person codenamed Jules who arranged for precious art treasures to be stolen. You got it. Mr. Swift is the one who helped steal rare art treasures. Inspector Gage told us the culprit was somebody who travels to foreign places and was connected with the Around the World in 80 Ways travel agency. Aunt Miranda went undercover to discover another key fact. The culprit's code name was Jules. We learned from Jules Harper that his new boss, Owen Swift, had the nickname of Jules. He even made Jules change his name to Julian in order to work there. We knew Owen Swift worked for the travel agency because he's the one who took the photos in the art tours brochure. And the photos themselves prove that he had been overseas. Owen Swift used his connection with the travel agency to arrange thefts all around the world. Good work. You snagged him.